Hi there, welcome to Brock EDC and what I hope will be the first of many videos. So you don't need a huge workshop in order to start producing and selling quality laser engraved equipment. I've only been doing this 12 months and I'm firmly in the amateur camp. I'm working off a modest sized desktop, just big enough to have 2 monitors attached to it, as well as a small unit that I could put my XTOOL F1 on, as well as the air purifier. If you're like me, you're going to want this short and sharp. So most videos I'm aiming at getting in under 10 minutes, with a general flow being a short introduction, a quick overview on settings and how-tos, and then we'll get straight into the actual engravings. There are plenty of options out there to get hold of imagery, from a Google search to paid sites. I've started using ChatGPT and tend to generate my own imagery. We could take a look at how to actually create our prompts in a later video. In this case, I've just asked for a scenic black and white design of Snowdonia in North Wales. Set yourself up a logical folder system under the XTool branding and then save that image directly into your workflow. Once you've got your XTool software open, we're going to come to the top left here, click on the add image icon, identify the picture that you want to import and then bring it into the software. Once you've got it actually imported, it'll ask if you want to resize the image. I tend to say no and then manually resize the picture myself. This supposedly doesn't degrade the quality of the image. Using the resize markers at the edge of the picture, we're going to simply resize it and then bring it into the workspace. Remember, you may have to adjust this again depending on the size of the object that you're engraving onto. I'm engraving onto a slate coaster. Now, if it was a square coaster, this is as far as I'd go. I'm engraving onto a circular coaster. So what we're going to do is now change this picture and we're going to put an overlay onto it using the shapes option on the left hand side. I'm going to select the circle, press the shift key and then create a perfectly symmetrical circle. All we do there is drag it out, maneuver the shape, capture the actual area that we want to engrave. And once we've got it, we're going to create a mask. Now to do that, all I want you to do is come to the bottom left hand corner, select the layers tab, and we can see here we have 2 elements in play, the circle and the image. Selecting both layers, we're then going to right click and then we're going to create a mask. Once you get your mask in the correct position, click on done. You've now got a circular image ready to place onto your circular coaster. We're now going to select the actual material that we're going to engrave onto. So if you come to the top right here, at that point you can see it says unknown material. Click on it and then select the material you're actually going to engrave onto. In this case, a stone coaster. With XTool Creative Space, it gives you some pre-settings. However, because I'm using a fairly detailed image, I'm going to actually work on the DPI or the dots per inch. And I'm going to increase that so I capture more detail. The other settings I'm going to leave as is. We're now going to adjust the actual quality of the image. And all we're going to do is come to the top of the screen, click on adjust, and then you'll see a box with a number of options. When it comes to the grayscale, if I drag it to the left, you'll see that the actual image will change and it's almost washed out there. So we're after a happy medium. We've got a lot of contrast between the blacks and the whites. Once we're happy with the contrast, I like to move up to the top and generally pump the sharpness up to full. If you're engraving onto a dark object, then invert the actual image. The next thing I like to do here is to get rid of the sky. You can leave it if you like, however, I find by removing it, it gives a nice contrast between the image and the black slate. So come up to the top of the screen, click on cutout, and you've got AI cutout or manual cutout. I'm going to show you how to do it manually. You see on the left hand side of the screen you've got a number of options. Initially select the magic wand. Now this will get rid of bulk colours, but if you've got a lot of mix of greys, whites and blacks, it won't get rid of all of it. So we're then going to take out the majority using the magic wand, and then we're going to select the manual option. We're now going to switch to the eraser option. We zoom in and we can see that we've still got a number of coloured pixels. Using the hand option there, we can move the screen about. Remember to come off it before you start using the tools though. So here we go, onto the eraser option, adjust the size of the eraser, and we're going to go bold on this. And then we can remove any coloured pixels that we've still got in place. Now be mindful of this, you can start erasing the actual image that you want to keep. You can always click back to undo any mistakes. By adjusting the size of the eraser, we can then get a cleaner cut around the image. Take your time doing this stage, because you need a nice crisp outline to the image that you're going to engrave. And once you're finished and happy with it, click confirm and you should end up with something like this. So let's take a look at the offset option. Once you've selected the offset button, this now puts a wire outline around the image. So this means you can just put a nice outline engraving around your image. It gives it a bit of punch. By adjusting the slider left and right or pressing up and down, you can change the actual distance between the image and the actual wire outline. If after doing this you notice you've got some pixels that you've missed during the erase option, go back to the cutout option, identify them pixels and then just erase them. Once you've deleted any stray pixels, go back to the main screen, click on offset again and then adjust the distance between the wire and the image until it sits flush against your main image. You can see now it's a much cleaner, crisper outline to the picture. This wire outline is known as the compound vector, and the settings for the engrave for the compound vector can be adjusted by clicking on it on the right hand side. You can work from the pre-adjustments by selecting them, or you can adjust them yourself. In this case, I'm actually going to put 3 passes so I get a nice, crisp, punchy outline around the image. I'm now going to select the image itself and I'm just going to make some minor adjustments by slowing down the dot duration. I'm going to leave the power at 55 and the DPI as is as well. Now the image is ready to go, we're going to take a look at adding some text to the image. So this is nice and easy to do. We're going to come across to the left hand side, click on the T for text, and it'll drop in a text box. When the text box gets dropped in, it gets dropped in under the score option, which means it just gives it an outline. By clicking on to engrave, this will fill in the actual text. Again, moving up onto the top end of the screen, if you select the text, you'll see that you can change the actual font. I'm going to give this a bit of a Celtic look because the mountains are in North Wales and it just actually goes with the image, so it lines the text with the actual image. We can then resize the text by grabbing onto the markers. Once you've positioned the text or resized it, if you look at this icon here, if we click on it and move the mouse, we can change the curvature of the actual text. Play around with this option until you get the best visual effect with both the image and the actual text. Next, we're going to take a look at framing. So what we now need to do is make sure that the image itself physically fits onto the area that we're engraving. First thing we do is select all the elements that we're working on. You can see they're all grayed out, so that means all 3 have been selected. Then come down to the framing button, click on the 3 dots, and then the light power, I generally work off number 8, and then we click on outline. This will give you an outline that follows the shape of the picture. Drop in your coaster, and now all we've got to do is align these 2 dots, and we do that by adjusting the knob on the side of the X tool, and we can see that the 2 dots now sit on top of each other. Now the laser is focused, we can click on framing, and you can see from the video you get the outline of the actual image. Now you can adjust this by either moving the object you're engraving, which I'm doing here, or by moving the image on the actual workspace on the computer. Once you've got it in place, stop framing, and now we're going to press process. Once you've clicked on process, bottom left you'll see how long it estimates that the engraving will take. So this is 6 minutes. We click on start, go in, press the button on the side of the X tool. The beep means the engraving has started. And now just sit back, have a brew and wait for the engraving to finish. The video now has been sped up to ×5. The full engraving takes 6 minutes. This will take about 80 seconds start to finish. So the initial engraving you're seeing here is the image being laid down. We've now got to the end of the actual picture. It'll now focus on the text and then finishes off with the vectoring, so basically the outline of the text and the image. So there's the engraving complete. We've got a nice detailed scenic engraving. To clean off the actual engraving, just get rid of any surface level dust, give it a rinse out and then dry it off. Hopefully that was easy enough to follow. If you've got anything you want me to specifically focus on, let me know in the comments box below. If you're new to this, I'm literally 12 months ahead of you, so I tend to find it's easier to pick up bits of information of somebody who's gone through the process maybe 2 or 3 steps ahead of you. Thanks for watching. Give me a follow, give me a like, let me know what you want to see next. And remember, no fuss, just solid gear and hopefully easy to follow videos. Thanks guys.